For as long as we've been human, we've been on this quest, a search for a feeling, a state of being that we call happiness.
But what is it really? I mean, is it some destination you finally arrive at, a prize you can win, or is it something else entirely?
We spend our lives chasing it, right? Up the corporate ladder, trying to find the perfect partner, watching the balance in our savings account. We're always looking for it somewhere out there.
But what if we've been looking through the wrong end of the telescope this whole time? What if the real map to a flourishing life isn't out in the world, but is actually already coded deep inside us?
To find it, we're going to have to zoom in, way in. We're going to bypass the external world and go straight to the source, that intricate, incredible wiring of your very own brain.
So let's kick things off by exploring your personal happiness circuit, the actual neurochemical foundation for a life well lived.
Okay, so when it comes to well-being, researchers basically see two main paths we can take. First, there's the hedonic path. That's all about maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain. Think of a delicious meal or a super relaxing vacation. But then there's the eudaimonic path. This one's about finding meaning, purpose, and really becoming the best version of yourself. It's kind of the difference between just feeling good and living a good life.
Now, a key player in this whole process is a tiny little molecule called dopamine. It's a chemical messenger, and it plays this huge role in how we experience pleasure, what motivates us, and how we process rewards.
In fact, it's so central to our experience of joy that it's often nicknamed the feel-good neurotransmitter. It's pretty much the brain's way of saying, yes, that was good, let's do that again.
And what's so amazing is that we can actually consciously activate this system. Turns out, your brain releases this feel-good chemical not just from the big wins, but from simple everyday actions. Things like connecting with people you care about, or even just taking a quiet moment to feel grateful can give you a genuine chemical boost of joy.
But it's not just about our brain's hardware, right? We can also tap into the mind's software, our thoughts and our focus, to really profoundly shape our reality. Two incredibly powerful tools here are what's called flow and the self-fulfilling prophecy. Flow is that magical state where you're just so completely absorbed in something that time seems to disappear. And the self-fulfilling prophecy, well, that's the wild idea that what we believe to be true can actually become true, just because our belief changes how we act.
The power of expectation it's incredible. There was this classic study back in 1968. Researchers told teachers that certain students, who were chosen totally at random, were intellectual bloomers who were just poised for growth. And because the teachers expected them to succeed, they subconsciously gave them more attention, more challenging work. So what happened? By the end of the year, those exact students showed way bigger gains in their IQ scores. The expectation literally became the reality.
All right, let's zoom out a bit. Our internal states, our mind, our brain, they're powerful for sure, but they're also deeply connected to our fundamental human needs.
For decades, the most famous model for this has been Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The idea is pretty simple. We have to take care of our foundational needs first, like food and safety, before we can move up the pyramid to chase higher needs like belonging, self-esteem, and finally self-actualization. Reaching our full potential.
It's a really elegant model, but is life actually that linear? Do we really have to perfectly satisfy one level before we can even think about the next one? Well, modern research suggests maybe not.
A more current way to look at it, which was summed up brilliantly by researcher Ed Diner, is that these needs are more like vitamins, right? You don't just take your vitamin C and then wait to take your vitamin D. You need them all the time for optimal health. You can be hungry for food and still be happy with your friends. We're pursuing multiple needs at once.
And when we talk about those higher needs, especially purpose, it turns out we're not just talking about some lofty philosophical idea. No, we're talking about something with real, measurable, and seriously powerful effects on our physical health.
Just look at the data. Studies show that older folks with the highest sense of purpose are an incredible 2.4 times less likely to develop Alzheimer's disease.
And a strong sense of purpose is also linked to a 50% reduction in what are called macroscopic brain infarcts. That's basically tissue damage in the brain that is a major cause of strokes.
And this one is just staggering. Over a 5-year period, having a high sense of purpose is associated with a 57% lower risk of death from all causes. So purpose isn't just nice to have. It's like a powerful protective shield for your body and your brain.
So if purpose and connection and well-being are all so vital,
then how should we be measuring success as a society? Let's zoom out one last time to a global scale and see what the data tells us.
We've all been taught to kind of equate a country's wealth, its GDP, with its success and the well-being of its people. But is that actually true?
Data from Harvard's Global Flourishing Study reveals something really fascinating. When you measure a country's overall well-being, its flourishing, it doesn't track perfectly with wealth. In fact, flourishing can sometimes even decrease as GDP goes up. Middle-income nations like Mexico often score higher on things like purpose and social connection than wealthier nations like the US or Japan.
And that leaves us with one final crucial question. If the relentless pursuit of material wealth isn't the ultimate answer to a good life, then what is? If we were going to redesign our lives, our communities, and even our economies, what should we be putting at the very center of it all?